Hi there. This is the Evolved Educator podcast. Each episode, we talk about education and teaching. Our goal is for you to feel part of the community. We want to learn from you, and we hope that you learn something from us too. So, welcome. Today, we're talking about productive struggle. I'm Michelle.
I'm Jennifer.
I'm Chanmi.
So this is kind of a funny phrase, productive struggle. What does that look like to you?
Well, in life, on a very simple scale, I always think about babies and how they learn things. You know, like a baby trying to use a fork or a spoon.
Mm-hmm.
It's really messy and they miss their mouth and, but they keep trying. And then, with a little bit of modeling and positive encouragement and persistence, they figure it out.
And that reminds me too, in school, in math and science, when kids are trying to solve problems, I know that my students do a lot of sketching and scribbling things out. They change things, they retry, they rebuild. Actually, it's in any subject or situation when something's challenging and my students need to just persevere through it.
Yeah, you use that analogy of the baby and feeding themselves, and I tell students that all the time. I'm like, you don't give up. No, and I use that as like, nobody gave up learning how to feed themselves or dress themselves, and it takes a long time to learn how to do those things that we think they're very simple, but we think they're simple because we know how.
Right.
So we know that productive struggle in the classroom can lead to much deeper learning because the engagement with the struggle, the engagement becomes the process.
Exactly. The research also shows that the learning's enhanced when students persist until they're successful.
Mm-hmm.
So they have to persist through their confusion or any problems, dilemmas that they have, especially their struggles.
Yeah,
Right.
definitely. And it builds this authentic engagement and really fosters reflection, really develops these sort of strong habits of mind.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm thinking about perseverance and thinking flexibly, which we know are 21st century skills that the students need.
We know this. I mean, teachers know this, but engaging students in productive struggle is really challenging for teachers. Like I said, I try to use that analogy with babies learning to do things, and no one ever says, too hard to learn how to eat. I'm not doing that anymore. That's not a thing. Right. But we see kids want to give up all the time, but we also know that learning things does take time and persistence and a lot of experimenting, and we need these rich learning opportunities that challenge students, but it doesn't frustrate them. Mm-hmm. So how do you all create opportunities for meaningful struggle in the classroom that truly enriches student learning? What do you do?
Well, that brings us to our segment today, which is called Wait, Something's Not Right. I wonder if.
Mm-hmm.
I think first, I think it's really important to acknowledge that struggle is part of the learning process.
Mm-hmm.
That's first. Persevering through a challenge is something that can be encouraged. It's something that can be taught, and it's something that we can practice.
It's not something people are just born with or not.
Mm-hmm.
Teachers can do something very specific to develop that productive struggle in their classrooms. And as we discuss so often, it involves deliberate planning.
We always keep coming back to that, the planning.
Right. Exactly. Definitely. Well, I think in the planning, one of the best things to start with is just creating this climate in your classroom. So,
Yes.
Making this classroom, your community, this place where mistakes are expected and they're respected, and sort of explicitly teaching and practicing perseverance, like what do we do when we have a challenge, and sort of taking advantage of teachable moments when they happen. Sometimes maybe letting go of like strict pacing schedule if, a mistake or a misconception comes up, or if there's like one of those aha moments, stopping and really recognizing that, oh my gosh, what did we learn here? Or what mistake did we just sort of get over? And then of course, like extending the wait time, but just kind of mashing all of that together to sort of build this community where all that stuff just happens all the time and it's okay.
I just said that to some students today, extending the wait time for thinking. There was a student who, like you could just tell he almost knew what he wanted to say. And, all these hands went up within a couple of seconds, and we gave him the time to collect his thoughts and get the words ready. And he ended up coming up with a really thoughtful statement. And then I told the students that we're going to be kind and we're going to give people that opportunity. It's huge. Give people the time for thinking. I also think providing access. So you need to know your students, what their needs are and what their interests are, and make sure that there's some opportunity for everyone. So you need to anticipate who might have trouble with what and find their access point where they can jump in there and feel comfortable and then ease into that productive struggle. You have to be very deliberate with your formative assessment to do that. So you need to notice who is participating and how they're participating. And it doesn't mean giving easier work to people who are struggling. It just means finding where is the right place for them.
We also need to consider that we need to have tasks that are demanding enough for the students. We need to go big and set that bar really high to find those tasks that are worth solving. And that's really connected to the last one, because you need to know your students' interests and what's happening in the world around them and what they're concerned about. And sometimes look for those non-routine tasks, ones that just can't be solved with a formula. There's this like misconception that certain basic skills have to be mastered as a prerequisite to solve harder problems, but that's not true. And we also want to look for problems with multiple like solutions, open-ended, even, and those are the ones that involve that good reflection and discussion, because there just might be more than one answer, and there is definitely going to be more than one way to answer that question.
One of the last things to consider, and this is probably one of the most difficult for teachers, is this idea of sort of stepping back. And, it's this shift in thinking with the teacher being the facilitator and not sort of this giver of knowledge. And really trying to focus on asking better questions that are more important than the answers. And kind of, guiding and not telling so much, giving feedback or follow-up questions rather than saying something is like right or wrong. And just letting the students know that there's this power in, I don't know, wow, that's a really good question. I don't know that either. What should we do now? It can be really powerful. And just getting that message out. But it can be difficult to step back like that.
When you said asking questions, you mean the students asking questions that are more important than whatever answer they might come up with, right?
Right.
Yeah. What I hear you saying, the lesson here is struggle is a natural part of the problem-solving process, and frustration doesn't have to be. The level of student engagement and learning increases in the classroom where the value is placed on the process, and the teacher finds ways to support students without removing the challenges of a task. Once again, it's about the process more than the product.
This brings us to our final segment, strategies that get the W. And each time we like to send you off with a little goodie and this kind of strategy that you can use in your classroom. So Jennifer, what do you have for us today?
So this is a simple one, but honestly, it's timeless. Puzzles. Particularly along the lines of like sort of brain teaser type things. In math, I like to use tangrams and pentominoes a lot to help the students build this productive struggle. I've seen them more engaged, I think, than I ever have when you give them these puzzles. For anyone who's maybe not familiar, they're both sort of these dissection puzzles using shapes, flat shapes, where they have to kind of tile or fill in a shape using an outline or a silhouette and kind of do lots of flips and turns and rotations and, all that stuff, to sort of make these shapes. And it's amazing. It's very calming for the students. And I've seen them persevere through this in ways that I haven't seen them do in almost any other area. And the thing that I love about it is that it's ageless. I mean, you really can use it with any grade level. Develops this persistence, and it really kind of boosts independence and their self-esteem, and they get so excited when they solve it. It is just like, yes, that kind of thing. And really just kind of improves flexible thinking and abstract thinking. So I'm always on the lookout for any kind of new brain type puzzle things. But that's a good one for encouraging productive struggle.
Sounds good. I love it. Thank you. Talk to you next time.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.
Bye.